Today on the show, has anyone ever completed an IKEA flat pack correctly the first time? All that and more on 20th Century Boy, the show that wants to remind you to check on your Neopets. They're almost certainly dead. Welcome to 20th Century Boy. My name is Flatpack Mike, and this is the inside of my mind. Welcome to another episode, guys. Great to have you here with me for yet another week of the podcast. Hey, patreon.com/Radio Mike. Send a couple bucks my way if you like this show and you listen to it every week, or you get anything out of literally any of my content. That would be really helpful, and I have to plug it. Hey, I got a few things that I want to talk about. First of all, I saw this woeful new movie. As many of you know, I occasionally get invited to these movie premieres because I guess I must be on some list of like influential people, but it's actually a fine line, because the reality is, for these premieres, is like actual real life influential people who are actually influential and successful. They don't care about these events. They don't care about movie premieres, and they don't go, right? They probably get invited and they go, that sounds boring, so they don't go. Whereas non-actual influential people, i.e. me, do go because it's a way to see a free movie. And like, you know, I guess what I'm saying is actual famous people don't go. So I feel like all the movie studios, like I think this movie I'm going to talk about was Universal Pictures. They just invite people like me because they're like, this guy will come and we'll see a free movie. So I went to see this new movie, Twisters, which was quite possibly one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life. I went along with friend of the show, Keelan, and went to the Jam Factory in Melbourne to see this movie. Side note, I made absolutely sure that I was getting invited by Disney to the Deadpool versus Wolverine, or the Deadpool and Wolverine movie premiere. I did get invited. It's on next Tuesday, but by a tragic twist of fate, I happen to have something else on that night that I can't get out of. So I will not be going to the premiere of Deadpool and Wolverine, which is the only one of these things that I actually fucking wanted to go to. So that is such a massive shame for Mikey Boy. But to be honest, what I've got on is more important and more fun. So that's okay. But we will probably end up sending producer Pat or someone to it instead, which will be good. So anyway, me and Keelan, we go to see this movie, Twisters, and it was so bad. If you're thinking of seeing it, I would genuinely probably say don't, because it was so boring. We rocked up and we sat in our seats, and this movie starts, and it's all about these people who like chase hurricanes, chase tornadoes, drive into tornadoes. Oh, can we figure out how to stop a tornado? This is boring. And, you know, I made this, what I think is a hilarious joke on Instagram, where I said, I thought this movie was about KFC, because like KFC Twisters. And throughout the movie, because we were so bored, or at least I was bored, I can't necessarily speak for Keelan, but we kept kind of like, well, basically I kept, just because I was wearing my Apple Watch at the time, I kept like literally opening Siri on my Apple Watch and going, hey Siri, text Keelan, what is this movie even about? Just periodically throughout the movie, right? I would just send him a text message saying that, and then he would look at it and laugh. And then I'd just keep leaning over to him being like, what is this about? And Keelan was like, this is where the first KFC was built. And, you know, that's Colonel Sanders, but they had to, the first KFC got burnt down by a tornado. Not burnt down, but you guys know what I mean. And it was just a bad movie. And you know what? Sometimes, like, because sometimes if I go and see a movie that I really like at one of these preview screenings, right, the whole reason they have these is for PR around the movie, right? Like they want people to be talking about the movie. They want people to be talking about how good it is, blah, blah, blah. The more buzz they can get about around the movie, the better that movie might perform and people might go and see it. That's why they invite very actually legit, really influential people like me, Nat. And so basically, you know, a few weeks ago, we went to see Inside Out 2. Loved it. Absolutely loved that movie. Thought it was brilliant. Did a YouTube video talking about it and why I thought it was so good. And, you know, I then sent those videos to Disney and I said, hey guys, thank you so much for having us at the Inside Out 2 premiere. Here's some of the content I made about the movie. Looking forward to whatever the next event is, which would have been Deadpool and Wolverine. But like I said, I can't go. And, you know, with Twisters, you really, one, I didn't do any content about it. I haven't even talked about it until now. But it's not like I can go to the publicist at Universal, who I doubt listens to this podcast, thankfully, and be like, hey guys, thanks so much for the invite to Twisters. Really enjoyed it. And here's what I thought about it. And then link them this podcast where I literally just talk about how much I hated the movie and how bad I thought it was, right? So it's kind of awkward when you go to one of these screenings and you literally hate the movie and despise it and want nothing to do with it ever again. The thing about this movie Twisters is I would never watch it again. And I think that comes in various forms, right? Because I feel like there's two types of movies that you could say I will never watch it again. There are movies where you're like, that was a good movie, but I'd probably never watch it again. And then there's movies where you're like, that movie sucked and I never will watch it again. Okay? There's that was a good movie, but, or that was a bad movie and, okay? Those are the crucial conjunctions in that point because there are good movies and I'm trying to think of one. Okay, great. The Barbie movie. Contentious. I thought it was pretty good. I thought it was pretty funny. Would I watch it again? Probably not ever. Like everyone talking about I'm Just Ken, I haven't listened to it since the film. Okay? Absolutely have not listened to that song since that movie came out. Right? It was a good movie, but I'd never watch it again. Example of the opposite, Twisters. It was a bad movie and I would never watch it again. Okay, not even for fun, because I guess then we move into category number 3, which is bad movies that you would watch again. Okay, and I have a plethora of those in my catalog, right? One of my favorite bad movies that I would watch again and again and again is probably the movie Dickie Roberts' Former Child Star, which I don't think I've ever talked about on this podcast before, but absolute classic movie. Well, actually, it's not a classic because it was a box office bomb and it was a critical flop, starring David Spade, in which he plays a washed-up child star who is trying to break back into Hollywood. Absolutely incredible movie, even though it sucks. It is a very bad movie, but I would watch it again. So aside from that, I pretty much nearly broke my whole back over the weekend, okay? Because we had to pick up this flat pack chest of drawers, okay? Upgrading to a new chest of drawers, and my journey over the years with the flat pack is a tumultuous one. I have this theory. I said it at the top of the show as a teaser, so you already know it, but I'm gonna say it again, okay? There is nobody on planet Earth, I repeat, there is nobody on planet Earth who has ever made a flat pack, be it IKEA or otherwise, in one shot without having to unscrew at least one screw they screwed on in the wrong spot or in the wrong way or something. And I mean it, there is nobody who has just opened up a flat pack, seen all the stuff and been like, yeah, this is easy, I can do this, and just done it without making a mistake and without second guessing literally everything, okay? Because we take this chest of drawers home, there's 8 drawers and a frame, obviously, and we drive halfway across the city because I guess the story of buying it is even interesting because we see this listing on Facebook Marketplace. Hey, I've got this flat pack for an 8-piece chest of drawers. come and pick it up. It's this much money. It is identical to what IKEA is selling, right? The one we were looking at IKEA, except it's about $300 cheaper. Now, how can that be? Okay, how could that be? And the whole drive across town to pick it up, I'm wondering, like, how has this guy got this so cheap? Why is he selling a flat pack? Is this a scam? Are all the pieces going to be there? What is going on? What is going on here? We drive, it's raining, it's a wet, miserable day. I text the guy, hey, we're outside. He said, great, just park outside the garage. I park outside the garage. And as he opens his garage door, it becomes immediately clear to me exactly what is going on, because this garage has hundreds of flat packs. Hundreds of flat packs this guy has in his garage. And he's like, here it is. Helps me load it into the car. And I said to him, hang on a sec. So do you sell basically IKEA flat packs out of your garage? He's like, yeah, I import them in bulk and I sell them on Facebook Marketplace. It's going gangbusters. I'm about to get a warehouse. And at this point I think, wow, I'm in the wrong industry, because this guy must be making a fortune doing this. It is a great idea. I'm actually tempted to do it myself. I just don't know where I'd be able to store it because I live in an apartment, but I actually think it's a very good idea. He has stacks and stacks of these flat pack stacks. He has flat pack stacks, okay? And I'm just bamboozled by it. And I pay him in cash, and I'm like, imagine if he's selling even 3 of these a week, then he's making a lot of money, okay? Just some people are very smart with making money. I'm not. I spend my time doing this podcast and making no money. Patreon.com/Radio Mike. Please help. But just thought it was interesting. We drive home. It's super heavy. We bring it up into the apartment and I start cutting the boxes open. And in my mind, I'm like, we'll knock this off in 2 hours. Like, we'll have this up, set up in the bedroom, ready to go within 2 hours. Anyway, that was at about 11:30 in the morning. By 5 p.m., I haven't even basically finished half of the frame, let alone the 8 drawers I have to build as well. And I'm telling you, this thing has been screwed and unscrewed in various places several times. Because, you just get these instructions, and mind you, this is not an IKEA flat pack, okay? This must be like a white label company that just makes stuff identical to IKEA and sells it online, okay? Because, even IKEA instructions are hard to follow, but this isn't IKEA, no IKEA branding. And so, I'm just looking at these instructions. It's just so unclear. Am I the only one? You never really know. You're always kind of like, is that screw in that hole, or is that screw supposed to be in that hole? And then you're trying to match the angle that you're looking at the piece to the same way the instruction manual is. And then you realize you've done 3 things upside down. So then you're double handling, you're unscrewing, you're rescrewing, then you've done it wrong again. There was one part, I swear to God, that I did wrong 4 times. I did it. I'm like, that's wrong. Then I undid it, did it just the same way it was. And I was like, hang on. I fucked that up. Undo it again. And then I've just done it again the same way. I'm like, how come this isn't working? And it's just because I'm not applying any logic to it. And I'm literally, like the dictionary definition of being an idiot, doing literally the exact same thing every single time, with no ability to just remove myself from it and I don't know, withdraw. Okay. And I've been literally on the floor, on my knees, crawling around, screwing in screws, putting in dowels, clipping stuff together for 5.5 hours. I'm not even nearly there. Then I have to go because it was my dad's 60th on the weekend. So I had to go. We've got this half-finished chest of drawers in our lounge room. aka our only room, because I live in a 1-bedroom apartment. There's wood all over the floor. There's polystyrene everywhere. It's such a mess. It is an absolute pigsty in here. And yeah, it's still not finished. Okay, that was Sunday. Now it's Wednesday. It's still not finished. I don't know when it's going to finish. And to be honest, threw my whole week into disarray. And I really felt that I'm nearly 30 in these moments. I really, really felt that because my back was aching, my knees were aching, my thumb was blistering and callousing from all the screws I was driving, and just everything hurt. And even, honestly, speaking right now and talking to you guys about it it feels like my brain is shutting down, and it's like wants me to go to sleep, because that might be the only way to escape remembering the pain I was in. My arms still hurt, okay? This is what being old does to you. It was a terrible, terrible journey. But the whole time I was doing it, to be honest, I was thinking, you know what though? One day, hopefully soon, this chest of drawers is going to be finished, and I'm going to put stuff in it. And that's also what being an adult is. It's buying something that literally exists purely for storage and being like, I'm so glad I bought that. That's what being an adult really is. Okay. I do have to talk about the Trump stuff because everyone's been talking about it. How crazy is that, right? How crazy is that Trump assassination technique? Couldn't believe it. You know, someone out there really decided that, I mean, I don't know the true story behind it, but I'm thinking my reading of it is someone's like, I don't want Trump to be president. The only way for that not to happen is for me to murder him. What bravery? Because once you decide to take that shot, there's no way you're coming out of that either A, alive, or B, free. Like, if they don't kill you, you're going to jail for literally the rest of your life. I think that's really, really brave. Look at us. We're the only podcast in the country that will label Trump's attempted assassin, as brave. Because he knew, because at the end of the day, he got nothing out of it, because Trump didn't die, which we can only imagine was his aim, and he died. So he lost his life, and he didn't even get to kill Donald Trump. He will always now be remembered as the guy that didn't kill Donald Trump, not the guy that did kill Donald Trump. And maybe that's better, but I do think he wanted to be known as the guy that killed Donald Trump. That's what he wanted. That's what he wanted his legacy to be. And you know what? He failed. He couldn't do it. And that just absolutely sucks, okay? Sucks for him, of course. It doesn't suck for me. I mean, and the thing is, as everyone's saying, it definitely, I mean, I already have been saying to everyone I've been seeing that Trump is going to win the election, no doubt. And now it's all but confirmed. This guy, I don't think he can lose now, especially against Biden. I did talk about the Jack Black Tenacious D incident on the podcast feed and on my YouTube channel. So don't hesitate to listen to that and check it out for some more thoughts on this particular topic. Okay, I also wanted to talk about how I listened to the new Eminem album. I was obviously raving about his new song, Houdini, which came out earlier in this year. Abracadabra. And from my last trick, poof, just like that, and I'm back. And I still think that song is fantastic. I listened to the new album, which is called The Death of Slim Shady, and I thought it was really interesting. I actually gave my sort of light thoughts on it on Mike Listens, which is like this little music side thing I do, mainly just for fun, and I don't really take it very seriously. I just like talking about music. But I think I did want to slightly just delve into it a tiny bit, because I thought there was some relevant stuff in it that I could link back to mental health and how mental health and pop culture kind of interlock, right? Because in this album, Eminem, it's called The Death of Slim Shady. Slim Shady, of course, Eminem's alter ego kind of side character that he talks about a fair bit, that he has kind of had an on and off kind of relationship with since his sort of early days. And Eminem is Slim Shady rather is kind of characterized by picture that kind of classic Eminem image of like the baggy sort of pants, like the parachute pants, the blonde frosted tips, and like a high-pitched sort of nasally kind of rapping style. The kind that you hear on like, songs like Without Me and The Real Slim Shady, of course, and stuff. And there was always this thing of like, yeah, Slim Shady was this alter ego, and eventually he sort of retired that character with his album Recovery in 2010 and didn't really do much with the Slim Shady persona for a while. And I guess doing this album, The Death of Slim Shady, was him sort of talking about how killing off Slim Shady went and coming to terms with the fact that the alter ego character of Slim Shady is interlocked with who he is and his career and his success, right? Which I did find really interesting. There is a song on this album called Guilty Conscience 2 in which Eminem actually raps alongside Slim Shady as if there's like two people rapping essentially and having a rap battle with each other when it's really him rapping with himself, but he does it as if there's two characters, which I just thought it's I think what I really appreciated about this album is his introspectiveness and self-reflectiveness of himself and his past and his career and all of this stuff. Sometimes even like the bad parts of yourself or the parts of yourself that you cringe at or don't like are part of what makes you who you are, and they're, even though maybe you don't like them as much, these parts about you from your past, one, you're kind of stuck with them, it's all kind of written in history, and two, they form a part of who you are and who you become. And I just found that track stood out to me so much, just like hearing him rapping, and the whole album is framed like Eminem's albums always have these like short tracks that are usually called like skits, and they're like more theatrical kind of almost scriptic episodic kind of things that frame the album. And the whole skit kind of thing from this album is Eminem and Slim Shady like speaking with each other and whatnot. And I just thought it was really interesting, because I think for someone like me, like there's two ways I look at it, which is like a lot of the stuff I always talk about how the early days of this podcast I absolutely cringe at and I hate, but then there are people who are like, that was my favorite era of the podcast, 6-7 years ago, which is crazy that it's been that much time. And, I guess in that way, like, and then that links into my like anxiety and my experiences with my mental health being this like manifested, almost like seeing it as this manifested character that isn't me, but it's like a part of who I am, and it like exists within me, and I have to accept that the same way that Eminem accepts Slim Shady as his alter ego. Okay, I remember a show that did this sort of concept quite well, and I remember thinking it was very clever. Was this old TV show called Misfits. It was really good. I used to love it in high school. And in season 3 of that show, they brought in this new character, and his name was Rudy. And I always remember, like, here's me about to analyze like a 15-year-old teen TV show, but in Misfits, everyone had a superpower, and it was like a reflection of their personality. And Rudy, you discover, his power is that he is a literal split personality. So all of his sort of depressive and anxiety, all of his like depressive emotions and his anxiety and his fear and sadness and paranoia manifests itself as its own person. So he actually splits into two, and it's supposed to be a reflection of him not being able to express his emotions and wanting to like live a reckless and free life. And then when he's doing those things, this other him literally rips out of him, comes out of him, and then he's literally like identical twins. There's two of them, and one is this really shy, nervous, paranoid version of him, and one's this really like arrogant, kind of cocky version of him. And they have very really interesting and funny sort of conversations with each other. And it's, literally like walking into someone's brain. I always thought that was a really interesting way of looking at mental health, anxiety, depression, and all of these things that we experience. Like, even though that show was a comedy show, really, I still thought it was quite a ingenious way of communicating how, you know, these things can manifest inside us and like personifying emotion, almost like the same way like Inside Out, the movie, personifies emotions, right? Like, that's a little bit different to the Misfits thing and the Slim Shady thing. But I do think there is some merit in, I don't know, like, personifying your emotions and, you know, all the stuff that maybe you don't like maybe like, I don't know, I'm not an expert, but like, create a character for them. You know, don't associate those thoughts and those feelings with you. Create like a character that is those people. And I don't know, I just, you know, that's kind of just the thinking. You know, other than that, Eminem's new album really felt like, I mean, he was going on and on about cancel culture and trans people and pronouns and Christopher Reeve and all this shit that he was making fun of. It was quite repetitive. Like, I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought on some level the introspection was really interesting. Psst, the plug! Got a bit to plug. Of course, I mentioned that I did a video on YouTube about the Jack Black, Tenacious D, Donald Trump in Australia kind of situation, so go and check that out. Since we last spoke as well, I've put a few videos up on the tube, which are going well. I did a video a couple days ago on, you might know this story, you might not, how Pokemon caused over 600 children in Japan to be hospitalized with seizures. If you don't know that story, I might put the audio on this feed at some point. That is up on YouTube though. Go and check that out. It's a very interesting story. There's a new Marvel TV show coming out called Agatha All Along. I did a video talking about why I don't think anyone cares about it. Plus, Futurama is coming back for another season, and I talked about the many finales and comebacks of Futurama, all that on YouTube, and I'll hopefully put some of the audio back on this feed as well. Speaking of podcasts, Harry Potter and the Boys is still on break at the moment, but a bonus content on this feed, producer Pat was lucky enough to go to Metro Comic Con here in Melbourne on a media pass and got a very brief but fun 5-minute interview with none other than Patrick Warburton, the voice of Joe Swanson from Family Guy. You may also know him as Kronk from The Emperor's New Groove. You may also know him as David Puddy from Seinfeld, amongst many, many other fantastic roles over the years. And yeah, that'll be on this feed, hopefully on the weekend. So please wait up for that. Pat did a fantastic, brief but fantastic interview with him that I think you guys would really like. And finally, my blog, radiomike.substack.com. I did a blog this week about how I think how I have deleted TikTok. I have stopped using TikTok on my phone, and some of the habits I've been doing instead of going on TikTok that are a little bit more productive and better uses of my time. So I would love for you to check that out. All of those links are in the description to the podcast. So yeah, go and check out my content all over the internet. That is all for today, guys. Thank you so much for listening. I love having you on board for the podcast. On board? That's weird. Anyway, my name's Radio Mike. This podcast has been The Inside of My Mind, and I will catch you next week.